All right. I'm not sure how to start this, so I'll probably cut this bit out. But hi, I'm Dragon.
I'm Isaac.
So to begin, I guess we just start with what this game is. It's basically just a treasure hunting game. Like there's some story and stuff, but it's like really centered around like here, go out and get some monsters, hunt for treasure, come back to the game, or come back to the base, repeat. And it's like the core gameplay loop here. But it's like you start out with Eric and Mia. You go to this world with your friends with Porcus and Persula, I think were the names.
Yep.
And you go on this journey to basically just hunt for treasure. That's really all it boils down to. As much as I can say without doing spoilers, but we'll do that at the end. But I think just getting right into it, I really liked this game.
Yes, I did as well.
Yeah, you were my co-host for the streams. So you only got to see it, but it's like functionally this game played really well. Like there were a couple of hiccups here and there. But we'll start out. I think I've said that already, but we'll start out with a note. I think this is a very experimental title. I thought about it with my limited knowledge of like stuff outside of AAA games. I don't know of anything that has done anything like this. Like the closest I can think of is Sea of Thieves, and there's that treasure hunting is not the focus of that game. It is something you can do, but it is not the focus. This being said, I have not played Sea of Thieves, so I only know what I've seen people talk about. But I have my notes. They're better than what I had with Scarlet and Violet. So we'll start off. Obviously, it's on the Switch. I'm hoping it comes to PlayStation and PC at some point. Square Enix has been pretty decent about putting stuff out on PC, at least after a little bit. So maybe, but the graphics basically look like 11S. Like it maintains that style, which is honestly perfect. I love it.
Yep, really good.
Like, give me more of that screen, like Dragon Quest team. I don't need high def graphics. Well, high def actually would be nice because I like playing in HD and not 480p. But I don't need super detailed, super realistic. Like you give me more stylized stuff like Dragon Quest Treasures and Dragon Quest 11S. This being said, 11S had like some of the cutscenes where they had like everything looked real nice compared to like the regular cutscenes. I don't know what we want to call that. But if you've played some of the 3D Final Fantasy games, like 10 and 12 had it, or like 8, where like some of the FMVs were playing and you like everything looked really nice compared to like the game, like it's that. But give me some of those. So we'll go with the graphics to the system. This game honestly runs really well.
Yeah.
There have been, I want to say, there's been one actual glitch. No, there have been 2 actual glitches that we stumbled upon. One was off stream and wasn't that big. The other was on stream and was really big, and I have no idea what happened. Thankfully, we saved. But we'll get to that after. The one area that doesn't want to run well is the Wingswept Moors, the big old plains. You have some like puddles of water here and there, and you can see really far, so it doesn't help it. But if you were gliding above that area in the beginning, it just goes, oh, hold on, Chief. Let me catch up here real quick, and it lags a little bit. That's it. Like once you touch ground and are like looking around, it's fine. So the glitch I encountered off stream was when you go to the stations on each area, and we'll get to the gameplay a little bit later. I'll explain more about that. But you get to the station and it plays its theme. And obviously, once you go away from the station, the theme stops playing. Well, in another area, the ice area, I went like really far to the right, and like dug up an entire treasure, did some traversal, and this music was still playing until I got even further away than that. And I think I kind of messed with the game by going that way. I did something, I think, to aggravate it, but the really big glitch that I got was the final boss. We did like part of its first phase, and then it just kind of stopped, and it didn't want to keep going.
It stopped mid phase transition.
Yeah, so it was just kind of
really weird.
It was. I've never seen that in any game, but we had saved right before it, so it wasn't too bad. So when you get to the final boss, and don't worry, you'll know. You'll know. The game literally straight up tells you, "Hey, are you sure you're ready? It's go time. Like if you go past here, it's not coming back. Like it." You'll know, trust me. But save before you go in, and you're fine. Because it doesn't take long to reload and get back in. Because you can skip cutscenes too, which is really nice. Overall, gameplay's great. I didn't run into any lag. I think the way they optimized it is really nice. So let's go. I'm gonna go on to music. So I had graphics, music, and then system. So I'm gonna wrap back around to music. Music was the one thing I have an issue with in this game. So I mentioned this on our playthrough, but there's no new music in this game. There's no new jingles. There's no new sound effects. There's no new songs, like, at all. Every single thing is from another Dragon Quest game. And while
it is good.
The music,
it's good music.
It's good music. The music fits really well. However, 11S had like 11S had like maybe 2 new songs. Maybe it didn't have a lot. So this is basically the second game in a row where we are getting basically no new music or minimal new music. 11S at least had some like reorchestrations, I think. This doesn't have any of that. And I know with the passing of Koichi Sugiyama that may have thrown a wrench into things. I get it, but I'm really hoping that this doesn't become something for the next game. I'm really, really hoping we can get some new music. Because that is something I look forward to in every iteration of a long-running franchise. Like, you know, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, trying to think of the other ones I played, like Yakuza, I know is one I've been playing. Just the SAO games is something I've been playing a lot of. And it's just every single game that comes out in those franchises or series, I look forward to new music. Because some of these composers they make some good stuff.
Yes.
And it's also like, the reason I harp on music is it's also a thing that Dragon Quest has done. They reuse a lot of music. And it's, when you play more of it, you'll see more of it, and it happens more often than not in the side games where they don't necessarily devote that budget to it, probably. Because Builders 1 has it, Builders 2 has it, Heroes 1 and 2, Treasures has it. And the only reason I'm willing to give this game a pass on it is because, again, with the composer's passing, we don't have the guy who makes the music anymore, and they haven't announced a successor yet, as far as I'm aware. But it's a celebration of Dragon Quest. Like, my foot just stopped in the background randomly. I don't know why. So. Or maybe that's just me talking over it. I don't know. Who knows? But it's a celebration of Dragon Quest. There's so many other bits and pieces of Dragon Quest in this game that taking from other games makes sense. Heroes 1 and 2 is the same way. Builders 1 and 2 focus more on their own games, but still had like the same thing. Monsters and Monsters Joker is really the only two sets of side games that I know of that were released in the West. Rocket Slime I haven't played. We will fix this at some point. But those are the only ones that have like new music, and they have like almost all new music. Even then, they reuse some of it. But we'll go to. We'll stop talking about the music. I've talked about it for like 3 minutes now. I don't want to linger too long on any one thing.
Yeah, but music's important.
Music is important. It doesn't help. I'm gonna be honest. I will be open here. I have been spoiled by FF14. All right, like that. A new expansion comes out, and the patch content comes out, and they have like 40 new songs. Soken's a fucking god when it comes to composing music. Like it, I've been spoiled. All right. Final Fantasy also, like every game, I don't think they reuse any music in those games. They may do some like similar sections, but each song is different. I was like music, but I do again have to reiterate, the music that they reuse here, it fits, it works. I never heard a song and said that doesn't fit here. You kind of force that no, it all works. It all fits together. And so if I had to rate the music, I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10. And that's that's mainly just a personal bias. The music itself is really good.
Yep.
But gameplay. It's a lot of gameplay stuff. And we'll start off with the main issue the gameplay has is tutorials. This game doesn't tell you a lot.
Nope.
And I'll get into various details with that later. But there were a lot of things. Not a lot, but more than I would have liked to, and more than I should have. But I should have been told some of the things, and then some of the tutorials weren't actually worded that well. But I'll get into that on each section, and I'll be like, the tutorial here doesn't tell you this. But the main way of progressing the story, or like progressing through various things, is quests. So the NPCs have side quests, and obviously there's the big main quest, get the 7 dragon stones, but to get there you have to get the side quests, you have to unlock new stations, new fast travel points. That gives you some stuff. Getting treasure upgrades your gang rank, and that gives you main progression. There's a couple other ones. Just all these quests tie into main progression at some way. There's also just a bunch of side stuff. They're very fun. Standard stuff. They give you rewards. Can you tell this is live? That I don't have all of my thoughts together?
Yeah.
And something I thought was interesting with the quests is, while you're running around and doing stuff, you can be attacked by gangs. And while it's semi-annoying, for each time you beat a gang, it like just goes like, hey, you beat this gang 1 time, and for doing so you get rewards. I think it's like 10 times is like the most you get rewards for. It's like 1 reward for beating them 5 times, and 1 for 10, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then they have the daily quests, and these help while you're doing the story, because doing all 5 daily quests, which are not explained well, by the way, doing 5 daily quests gives you 1 or 2 Chimera wings, and those are very helpful because those let you zoom back to base and keep all your treasure and don't leave it behind without having to go to the station. But like the daily, this is where it says like the game doesn't explain stuff very well, is on the quest board that it points out to you for the daily quests. It gives you like a really summarized version of like what you want, like do this thing in the pattern noggin, and it says use in pattern noggin. Well, when you go to the quest menu, there's a section for daily quests they don't tell you about, and that goes into more detail about what you need to do. And I didn't find that until like the 2nd day. But quests, again, is just how you do your progression. It all ties back into doing some form of side quest. Because this game just kind of throws you in and says, all right, follow these steps. All right, you've done the tutorial bit. Go. Get treasure. Do side quests. Do whatever you want.
Do the thing.
Yeah, it's basically do the thing. Which is a point in its favor. I really like it.
Yes.
And I'll my next thing I just actually combat, but I'll skip to the overworld here. Is your standard gameplay loop is go to the station, you figure out where you want to go, and while doing the story you'll unlock the fast travel points. Each one has things that it needs, and that's its own side quest with its own rewards. But as you unlock the fast travel points, you'll be able to go to more places, or further into the places, rather. But there's 5 islands. Each one has at least 3 fast travel points. Some of them have 4. But while you're walking around, your monsters will sense treasure, and you can use your treasure vision to find it. And it'll like tell you like, all right, hey, or your I think it's called the fortune finder is what it's actually called.
Yes.
If you're not close by, hold on, let me rope it back real quick. So before leaving the station, let's start here. You get something called the golden ratio. No, it's not the little Konoha leaf symbol that everyone posts in the memes. It just says, like, here's how likely you are to find treasure based on the categories of treasure that your monsters in your party like. Because each one has different things that they like. And based on that percent, it is like how common like your standard bric-a-brac treasure that's lower value will show up randomly, and just how easy it is for your fortune finder to detect the better treasure, the gold ones. Because if you have like a low percentage, your fortune finder will kind of like pick like a quadrant and be like, there might be something in this quadrant. You know, but if you have like a 40% chance, it'll be a little bit more exact and be like, hey, there's something over that way. When you get a little thought bubble above your monster's head, and it's like, hey, there's a gold chest nearby. It'll kind of point you in that direction. And then when it becomes red, you can hit the fortune finder and get like a treasure vision is what they call it. And it's basically from your monster's viewpoint. And this is where it gets really interesting, is like the robot that I'm riding on in the footage right now, its vision is like has like a red filter over it, so you see everything in red. And it'll be like the treasure's right there, based on their point of view. So you have to find it based on that picture, and then you can dig it up. And then you can hold up to. Each monster holds like a various amount of treasure. I think the max is like 12 if you have 3 monsters that can hold 4. I don't know if I have anything that can hold 4, but the max is probably like 12. Then you either use a Chimera Wing and go back to base, or you go back to the station and go back to the base and you get it appraised, and you get the value, and then you get so much value, your gang rank goes up, and you get things. They're very good things. The other thing that the monsters can do is like their own little superpowers. Like their fortes. Like some of them can like scan for pickups and stuff, like the random treasure chests that are scattered around that have items in them. And, you know, the materials you can get. Some of them can run real fast and you can ride on top of them. Some of them glide. Some of them can launch you into the air. And some of them let you become a little tiny black void that can sneak under thin walls. So I gotta ask, what, like, the fortes, which one was your favorite?
Um, probably launch.
Launch was so much fun. Just kind of yeet, just throw you up in the air. It's a lot of
You
fun.
could do some weird gimmicky platforming stuff with it.
Yeah, which I did a lot. And it's very fun to do. And they honestly expect you to as well, because in some of those high up places, they definitely put treasure chests. They'll just throw like a chest up there and be like, hey, you got up here, get some pellets. Get some materials, maybe get a recipe. They'll give you something. I think whatever. Obviously, there's also monsters running around. Beating them up will give materials, metals, and stuff. I think that talking about the monsters will lead us into combat a bit better than what I had. Standard hack and slash combat. You know, you have. Well, it's kind of like super basic hack and slash. Because you control Eric, you don't control the monsters. You have your Y button press. Since it's only on the Switch, you don't have to worry about telling you people that which one it is. I hope you know. If not, I'd look up a Switch controller. But it's your standard Y button press. I think it's like a 7-hit combo. You can stop anytime in between. You can press X to dodge. And you do have iframes on it, not like some games. Looking at you, God Eater.
Yep.
That you can press X to dodge, beat a jump, and do your air combo. And then this is where like all of the typical Dragon Quest spells come in. And it's a couple of new ones that I'm still trying to figure out. And again, game doesn't tell you what these things do. And I'll get to those, like, but you have like all of your attack spells, you have like frizz, crack, whoosh. You have some new ones that I haven't seen, like water damage is splish, crag is earth damage. My personal favorite, donk, is gravity damage.
Yep.
Sizz is actually light damage in this, which is what initially was surprising to me. But you also have like physical pellets, where it's like, here's one that deals impact damage. Here's one that deals piercing. Here's one that deals slashing, which is what your little tiny dagger wheel does. It's slashing damage. And like obviously, certain enemies are weak against some types of damage, and then strong against other types. This leads to status ailments as well, which I never did. I honestly haven't needed to, but there's stun, there's daze/blind. I don't think there's confusion in this, but I know there's like stun. But you can fire these that are ranged. You pull out your little catapult and shoot them. You can buff your allies with them too. There's buff pellets, there's oomph pellets, stuff to buff magic and crit rate. And you can heal them with it. You can restore their MP with it. And then the one I used the most outside of damage was the buddy pellets. It's like, hey, I want a higher chance of getting that monster to join me. Well, you shoot him with it, and it gives you a higher chance based on the tier you used. So the pellets is where this game shines, I think.
Yeah.
That definitely is what they wanted you to do. Is they want your monsters to take the front line. They want you to play ranged support. So you're going to be doing a lot of the damage ranged. You're going to be supporting it with ranged and healing and restoring and doing all that stuff. And it's interesting. Most games don't really. They put you on the front lines. This game wanted you to take like kind of a backseat, and let them. It focused more on the monsters doing the work than anything else.
Let them fight.
Which so the pellets that they don't tell you about is I actually found a shop in one of the portals that had a couple more, but there's like they put some like aura around you. There's like cryonis, there's vulcanizing, electrifying. There's another one that does like earth, and I don't remember what it's called. I still don't know what they do. Like, it just puts this aura around you or whoever you shoot, like your allies you shoot it with, and I don't know what it does. And this game doesn't tell you, from what I have looked at. I have not looked online to figure out what they do, but so I haven't used them. But those are the new types of pellets, and if they explained it, I think what they do is they just add that element to your attack, or defensively. It's either an offensive or a defensive thing. It doesn't hurt you. Actually, offensive or defensive, it just covers everything. It's a buff. It does not deal direct damage. I'm trying to think of where I go from the pellets. Oh, there's also, like, on top of all of the other traits, you can equip your monsters with medals. And this is the thing that we didn't do a lot.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get really bogged down. It doesn't end up matter. There's a lot of complexity in this game that they made it really simple and then put this complexity in, and I don't think it comes back around to be useful. Not unless you really build for it. But you can get all sorts of traits, like reduce bang damage, reduce crack damage, reduce, slashing damage, increase your stats, HP. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with it. I didn't do much. There is just a handy dandy optimize button. And it says like, hey, what are you going for? Do you offense? This is where I liked it, because 11 did this as well. Where if I hit optimize equipment, it would be like, all right, what you're optimizing based on this. And it would ask you like, hey, do you want balanced? Do you want offense? Defense? I think there was another option. I always pick balance.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff, like customization you can do there. Like each monster also has all of their own traits, so there's a lot of stuff to look at with it. I didn't do any of it, which definitely hurt me in some of the boss fights.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh hey, this thing only uses ice. Well, hey, the boss is resistant to ice. I'm like, well dang. Whoops.
It was fine.
This game is not hard. Like, that's the one thing I cannot overstate. This game is not hard.
Yep.
I did everything first try. And some of it I was over-leveled for. This game lets you level up so easy. You get XP by doing literally everything. Did you kill a monster? You gained XP. You did a side quest, you probably gained some XP. You dug up treasure, you gain XP. And it scales with you. The monsters all scale with you to some extent. And they'll give you more XP. Because like as you go in, you'll so you go to like the first station. We'll start here. As I am level 73 in my current playthrough doing post game, so I go to the first station in any given area, and the enemies there are like level 30. If I go further in, they'll be level 40. If I go further in past that, they're like level 50, maybe 55 and 60. Early on in the game, these areas were like level 5, level 10, level 30. And then some spots are guaranteed to be like, I think the end of the Wingswept Moors was like level 50, like guaranteed. There's an area in the bottom of the pattern login after the tutorial. It is guaranteed like level 30 to 40, like the entire game.
Yep.
Because I'm level 73 and going back there, they're still level 36 and like 40. Like they have not leveled up that much. This game doesn't really... It lets you grind really easy. You can do basically anything and get XP. What else do I have here? So, when we talk about different damage types, they also combo together. And this is where the pellets get really fun. Is, okay, well, your monster, like my robot, used whatever its laser attack is. The one that shoots the little lead razor and just goes, everything just go boom. I don't know what's called. But if you play Dragon Quest, you've known it. If you've seen the attack, you know what I'm talking about. It does its own type of damage. It does fire damage, I think. Well, so depending on what you're doing at the time, I hit it with an earth attack, and it brings up this little thing, and it says laser and crag pellet and combo. And if you let that timer run out, it'll deal a bunch of extra damage. And like based on how many hits in the combo. And you can like stack that up to like 4 or 5, I think, and it does massive amounts of damage. And this is where this is another point that the game does not tell you about, that I will tell you guys right here and now. I didn't notice this for the entire game until after I stopped the stream and I looked at it. When that combo thing pops up, it just puts up like Hunter Mech, laser, fire damage, Eric, crag pellet, earth damage. Underneath that is like a next. It says next, and it'll put like a little symbol, and it shows you a damage type, and if you do that damage type, it adds a hit to the combo. So it tells you what you need next, instead of having to guess like I was the entire game.
Yeah.
The game does not tell you that. If it does, then I skipped over it hard. But like that's how you do some massive damage. That's honestly what makes a lot of these bosses so easy. It's just, all right, I hit your weakness with the strongest thing that I had, and then I got a combo which dealt like 2,000 more damage to you, and now you're dead.
Yep.
And the other thing this game did, like with the bosses and some enemies too, is they actually showed you like the radius these attacks are gonna hit.
Yes.
Like they had little AoEs. It's like, all right, well, a She Slime is gonna use, I think it's called Pop Star. It's a little bang attack, just a little red circle around it. It shows like, hey, it's gonna hit here. A Saber Cat, runs in a straight line. It shows you where it's gonna be, and will stop when it's about to do its thing, so you know when to dodge. Let me see, and then the last bit of combat was like the little gauge, the dragon gauge meter. That Eric can use, he gets up to 3. And his little dragon dagger gives him some powers. You can use, and each one depends on like the monster you have, but Eric has his own. Speaking of the devil, it's right as I'm about to talk about it, it does it. Yep. Eric gets the wild side. Those who have played 11, you recognize it. Boosts all of his stats, lets him move faster, and attack faster. And then each of the monster companions, they also have their own special move. It does its own special thing. Like it is not every monster has their own individual one. Some of them might have the same, but like a golem is not going to have the same thing as a slime. The other golem might have the same thing. But it does a bunch of damage. It's everything on screen. It's really helpful, and it uses like this little bar of gauge. And you gain damage. It's like, did something deal damage to the enemy? You gain some gauge. It is that simple.
Yep.
Did I go into like giving orders? Because that was the other thing the game didn't tell you. So I'm gonna iterate that for those watching. The up and down on the D-pad gives your monsters orders. It says up says here, go attack that thing. And down says, hey, come to me, which weirdly does not de-aggro and is very annoying. But the game does not tell you about it, and it's part of a quest. But I think that about covers combat. I don't think there's anything else that I missed.
No, I think that's about it. Oh, actually, did you mention there was no lock-on?
Yes, that was the main issue I have with combat. There's no lock-on. And this comes in with the other thing that I know I forgot to talk about. It's obviously those who have played 11 know that Eric is more of the thief class. Knives, boomerangs, gets the ability to steal, high deafness, high dodge rate, the whole shebang. Typical Dragon Quest flair here. He gets the ability to Like, he can crouch, and if something is nearby, he can pinch, which is a little mini game. It's like, all right, hit this little section on the marker, and you get a thing. If not, you piss the monster off. Which I still don't know what it does. I think they just attack more aggressively. But
They also get a damage buff.
I think so. It doesn't happen that often. But they you can get stuff from them without actually killing them. But where this lock-on comes into play is like when there are multiple things in a fight, you can't really guarantee what you're going to aim for all the time, except if you are holding the left stick in that direction. This also doesn't help because your pinch will just dash to something that's off screen if it's closer. So you can't like say, I want to target that thing. That is the one major gripe with the combat that I had this entire game, is you can't lock on. Now, thankfully, in the big boss fights, this doesn't matter. There's only the one guy there. But yeah, that's like the main gripe I have with combat. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
I think I've mentioned all of the stuff that you can do in the base, but you can, like, all the materials you get and gold. There's a shop. There's a place where you can use stuff and make food and give buffs. You can feed your monsters, which is way harder than it should be. You have to hold A over them while in the field. And some of those monsters are very mobile, so it's really hard to do. But you can make food, and you can make more pellets. You can also just buy some. And like all of those materials stuff, like the food items and materials are used to recruit monsters. Bunch of dust just came shooting off from my fan. I haven't cleaned it. But I was saying, oh yeah, so you get like the recipes in the chests, you make the food, you recruit the monster, and then you can add it to your team. Then you go out and get more. Obviously, those materials are also used for pellets, as I said. The shop just allows you to buy recipes and a few other things. And this is where I like the base. The base is where a lot of attention to detail was in this game. The monsters you recruit will like randomly show up in the base in between outings, and they'll like interact with each other and do some fun stuff. I think the one instance that I saw I really liked was I had recruited like 5 Drakkies, and they were all doing like this conga line around the base and like rotating around the lamp poles. I was like, this is so cool. And if you get a metal slime, it'll sometimes, like, there's a big old square where your flag is in the middle of the base, and it'll kind of hang out in the corner. And if you walk by it or walk close to it, it'll get a little ding, and it'll like run to the other corner. And if you can keep doing this and just chase it around the square, and it's really fun. It's just, the little stuff like that makes me smile. You end up, and then as you upgrade your gang rank to progress the story, because this is part of the story. I thought this was something extra. No, it's part of the story. You get access to something called the Snarl, and upgrading your gang rank gets you more floors added to it, and then post game gives you an endless, a little portal at the bottom. It's like the endless. You just challenge monsters over and over until you feel, like, all right, I'm ready to leave. But that's how you progress stories. You get a floor, go in the portal, get a thing. Go gang rank up, go to the next portal, get a thing. And then the main thing that I feel like a lot of people spend time with is the treasure vaults.
Yep.
You can show off your treasures. So like on mine, I have like a bunch of the Dragon Quest heroes up there, but you get treasures of basically everything that has ever existed in Dragon Quest. That horse poop that you picked up in Dragon Quest 4, yeah, you can get it. It is a treasure. There's also a crystal version of it, which is more expensive. But you can show it off. and it'll be like like your monsters will polish it, rival gangs will come and try to steal it, and you can fend them off, and like all the times the value will go up. It's a lot of fun. Like the main focus of the game is all about that treasure. I think they did a really good job.
Yep.
Trying to look at my list, make sure I didn't. Oh, I didn't talk about the gang rank. Upgrading the gang rank, like, one, allows you to progress story more. It's like gives you bonuses. Like, you can equip more monster medals. You can have more monsters, or you have an easier time scouting monsters. Your fortes come back faster. Your attacks deal more damage. Just a whole host of things that are all useful. It's the one thing I forgot to mention. I don't think there's any aspect of this game that I've left out. Me and my ADHD brain did not write these notes very well.
I think you got it.
Oh, okay. I did forget one thing. I did mention the portals and the snarl. So there's what they call grottos in this game. Those who have played Dragon Quest IX, it is not the same thing. So by various means, and this is what the snarl portals are too, but they're static, they're not random. Is you can get like a treasure map and it'll lead you to the location of a portal. Your treasure sense can sometimes lead you to one. And I just remembered something else, but you get to a portal in the overworld and you go in, there's like circular rooms, and there's like anywhere from like 1 to like 6 of these. And they're random monsters in each floor. Sometimes there's like a totem that'll give you a buff. Sometimes there's a campfire and a shop. At the very end is a boss. And based on your time, you get like money, you get a medal, and you get a treasure. And it's all randomized. It's unfortunately not what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be something similar to 9, but maybe this gives me hope that maybe they'll just give us a Dragon Quest 9 remake.
Mayhaps.
Please do it, Scar. I'm desperate. Please, I'll pay $90 for it. The other thing I forgot is, and this is something I think more games should do, like, more of the creature catching genre should do this. It's the dispatch missions. You could like take your leftover monsters, the one you weren't using, and you could go like, all right, this area requires these things to have like a better chance at finding treasure. I'll mix and match my monsters to try and get the highest chance, and then I'll send you out for like 30 minutes real time. And then you can bring me back materials and like a free treasure and other stuff. And I think more creature catching stuff should do that. Because like with Pokemon, it's like all the Pokemon that I don't use, they just sit in the box. They don't do anything. And I'm like, guys, you could add a little something, for that Ditto I'm never gonna use. Or for that Ghastly that I caught by accident. Or, whatever. I really like that aspect, because it just gives me a little bit of extra things to do with the monsters that I scouted. It gives the old ones purpose when I bring in new ones that I want to use. It honestly just gives you something else to do. And there's also like a point that I should have added in the beginning. This game does not spoil the story of Dragon Quest XI.
Nope.
Not at all. It gives you like a little hint. Like, it's just like, Eric's important. It's kind of what it does. That's all it does. It's just like, Eric's important. Wahoo! But like, you can play this game not having played 11, and you will get the full value out of basically everything. Well, not necessarily the full value, but you're definitely
Yeah.
you're not, it's not going to ruin 11S for you if you play it. Like, Entree, it'll probably like give you a bit more of an attachment to Eric from the get-go.
Yep,
I,
that's what I meant.
yeah, I made you play to the conclusion of his little arc. I'm glad I did.
I'm glad I did too.
But this game, as I said, is a celebration of Dragon Quest, so obviously the more Dragon Quest you have played, the more you will get out of playing this game. However, I think this also works in reverse. It's like, you can play this game, get all of the treasures, and see like all of the important monsters and key items and stuff. And then, like, well, let's say we go play Dragon Quest 6. That's the one I need to go back to and finish on stream. There's a bunch of characters and, boss monsters from that game as treasures in this. So you could, like, go play that game and go, oh yeah, I remember seeing that statue in Treasures. I remember that character. This is where they're from. So I did that with Yakuza, actually. Playing 7. Playing 7 as Ichiban, you start off in one town, and then you go to Sotenbori and Kamurocho later on in the game, and do a bunch of stuff there. And then, playing Yakuza 0, and now playing Kiwami 1, I'm now seeing all of these places and buildings and these people that are talked about in that game, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember them talking about that in 7. That's really cool. So this is what happens. So I think it works both ways. So you may not get the full value out of the treasure now, but it will be like this nice little thing when you're like, oh, I remember seeing that in Treasures. I'm hoping you get more of that as we go along.
Yep.
But overall, game, not very hard. Not very hard. Pretty short. What was our final time was like 30 hours?
Yeah, it was low 30s.
And that was like with hours of goofing off.
Yep.
So probably around 25 if you hard focus the story.
Or less, depending on RNG.
Yeah. Thanks, Waveweed.
Yeah. Ooh.
RNG was not kind to me. The story was a touch predictable in a couple of spots, but I think that's like I don't think they made it. They were not like. There's a couple of things that happen near the end that are like stupid amounts of predictable, but the game did not go like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. How could this have happened? Ah! No, it just kind of did like normal reactions, but it didn't overplay it. And this is what leads me to believe this was an experimental title. It really focused heavily on the gameplay, and the story was good, but there wasn't a lot of it. It's kind of more focused on you doing your own thing. The characters were great. Like, all of the main characters have like their own side quest chain that I'm still doing. But it's like there's no deep lore. There's no like 40 hours of cutscenes in this game. On the contrary, I think all of the cutscenes that are important can be lumped into like maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. I think
feel like the game. Yeah, excuse me.
yeah, we both
I
have
didn't feel
allergies.
like-
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I didn't feel like the game's story took itself too seriously.
No, it absolutely did not. And I think that is to the benefit of this. This game had a lot of fun. Like, it didn't take itself too seriously. The stakes are super low. There is no threat to the world, or, if you fail, the Earth is doomed. Rita Repulsa comes back and kills the Power Rangers if you don't succeed.
Yep.
Like, it's super chill. Like, even this game as a whole is super chill, even down to like, I literally have been playing this in bed for like an hour. It's like, all right, I took my medicine, time for it to get to work to help me sleep. I can play Dragon Quest Treasures for like 30 minutes and get progress done. And I'm not like feeling like I need to be awake for any of it. So I think this whole experience was just, it's fun. It's a very casual game. There's probably some tech that you could do with it. I don't know. It's a very casual game, very chill, very relaxed. But overall, what would you rate this game?
As someone who did not play it, and only in the passenger seat, I would probably give it
And also as someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with Dragon Quest.
yeah. Probably 8. 8 as a generous.
I probably would do it. I'd probably do 8 or 9. If I want to include my personal gripes with the music, it'd be a solid 8. But I think I'm honestly being really harsh on it. So I would say probably a 9 out of 10. I had a ton of fun with this game. Is the ones that I have actively wanted to keep playing, despite also playing 2 other things at the same time. I keep going like, I want to come back to this and play it again. Play more of it. I honestly, I was going to talk like spoilers at this point, but I honestly don't think that with how the story is, there's not really much to talk about. There's no deep lore. There's no like huge reveals. You know, if you're coming to this game looking for like another JRPG, you're probably not going to get it.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
It's very gameplay focused.
All about that core loop. Like Monster Hunter.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's more story focused than Monster Hunter is, but it has less lore on the back end of it than Monster Hunter.
You say that, but you also haven't played Sunbreak, so.
But it's like, I'm talking from my experience with Base Rise and Base World and some of Iceborne, and never hearing anyone go like, hey, the story of Monster Hunter is great. Not counting Monster Hunter Stories, which I assume is heavily story based based on the name. Like, this game focuses way more on the gameplay loop than its story. And honestly, like, I really struggle to find... Oh my god, my allergies are killing me. I really struggle to find anything bad to say about this. Like, music, the lack of lock-on, and the bad tutorials. It's like... kind of it. You know what? Hold on. I will say something bad. Game developers who listen to this, anyone, if the game has a day-night cycle and it turns to night, there better be freaking music playing. This game does the thing I hate the most, and it has, when you go out at night, there's no music playing. It is just like random ambient sounds sometimes. And I'm like, just play like a chill ambient theme, like Breath of the Wild had for the entirety of its game ever. Like, something. I need something to not go stir crazy. But it's like, and honestly, lack of lock-on and the not so great tutorials are the biggest things I can say negatively about this game. And that says a lot.
Mm.
Oh, you know what? The one thing we never talked about, the network stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think the network stuff was, I think, very proof of concept. I feel like they should have done more with it. So what the network stuff is you go out, you take a treasure from that you have displayed, like, and you say, I want to hide that one. And this, it's really kind of tedious. So you have to go out to the place that you want to hide it, select it as a hiding spot, and then come back and talk to the little robot and say, I want to hide this in this spot. And the more people find it, the higher its value goes up. Now, I can also find those replica treasures, and they'll give me experience for digging it up. It'll show me what it is, and it'll like have a little slot in the treasures list. It doesn't say I have it, but it'll be like, hey, this is a thing that you don't have. And you can sell it for gold. And that's kind of it. It doesn't increase your value at all. And I think the missing thing here is I really think that what they could have done, and I would have done out, actually gone out and hidden these treasures a bit more, is if, like, let's say there's a statue of the Dragon Lord that's an item in this game. Let's say I didn't have it. So I go out and I dig up someone's replica. Hey, look, it's the statue of the Dragon Lord as a replica. Now, because I have this replica, what if it gave me like a 2% increased chance to find the statue of the Dragon Lord while I'm out gathering random treasure? I think that would have been really cool, because then I'd have gone out and like hidden some of the like the cooler stuff and been like, all right, well, this is an iconic one. I'm gonna go out and bury it somewhere, and you don't lose it when you bury it. I had to go out and bury it somewhere, so that way, someone who finds it, oh, hey, I don't have that one yet. Now they have a higher chance of finding it. And I think it just builds that community just a little bit more. There's just really no incentive to do it. But it's very fun. I think it's a very neat proof of concept for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, before we end, because this was just going to be a review thing, next one I really should probably do pre-recorded, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Solid 9 out of 10 for me. As a huge Dragon Quest fan, I think this delivers everything that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac gave it an 8 out of 10. As a person in the passenger seat, I gave it a 9. I had a lot of fun playing it. I think that's it. I think the next game we play, probably beginning of February, will be The Wolf Among Us. And that's gonna be another spoiler full discussion and review.
Oh yeah, it will.
That's gonna be as a Telltale game, that is gonna be full of spoilers to talk about.
With that, I might actually have to take notes.
Just take notes as we play. Hold on.
That is honestly what I'm probably going to do.
I might also be there with you. I'll be like, write down. Hold on. Let me write down that I really liked this thing they did. I should do that more often. So like, oh hey, this thing that I really liked, or this thing it's like I actively disliked. I should write it down and make a note of it. Not only for these, and this is something I recommend for other people. If you remember the things you like and dislike, you can recommend the games to people, and then you go like, hey, I think you would like this, but it has this thing you don't like. Or hey, I'd recommend this thing, it has this thing you really like in it. because that's how I recommend games to people. But since we're done with the spoiler and review, I think we send it off to somebody else. This was going to be a short thing, not as long as the 3-hour Pokemon one.
Yeah, but that was also Pokemon, and there was a lot to talk about with that.
Yeah, there's not a lot to talk about in this one, but I think very fun, very worth at full price.
Yep.
Well, you know what? This is the other game. It's like, I'll leave off with this. I know Dwarf Fortress has a lot of stream potential for just the shenanigans it can create. If you want to see me play that, let me know, because I'm not going to buy it otherwise. But I do have some other games that I can fill in the dead air with. And so we play Wolf Among Us.
No, you gotta play the original Dwarf Fortress.
Oh god, I'm not playing ASCII. No, I don't even know what it looks like, and I'm not playing it. But anyway, Octopimp's playing Dwarf Fortress. So we're gonna raid him because he's great.
Yeah.
The week of GDQ, I will not be streaming. I will be watching GDQ. So, like 8th to the 15th, nothing. After that, I'll fill in the dead air. You're really busy during January, unfortunately. And then February, unless you're really feeling up to it, we can do it in January. But after GDQ, February will be the Wolf Among Us, and then after that, I have no idea. But take care, everyone. Have a great night. And we'll leave off on the wiggly worm that just popped up on the video feed. Good night!
Take care. Good night.